you and me can see each other?
Yes, sir. We have asked the other participants to not turn on their videos. Okay, guys. So we are beginning with the webinar. Hello and good evening to everyone present here, and welcome back to all my viewers for this session. I am Malika Gupta, the Secretary of Marketing and Sponsorship, AMSA India, and I welcome all of you back to the AMSA webinar series, Demystifying Residency: The Path Ahead. And we have the second webinar session today, which is Overview of Residency in the US. So once again, before we begin with this session, I would like to discuss some general pointers with you all, which include, first of all, please keep yourself muted the entire time to avoid any interruption in the meeting. Please do not turn on your video so that we can have a constant interaction with the speaker itself. Please do not chat with each other, even though it has been disabled for you. You can still chat with the host, that is me. And also, please do not share your screen anytime. Thank you. Owing to your queries and your feedback, this time we have allowed you all to send us any doubts or any queries throughout this webinar through the chat box. You can send it to me, that is the host. And by the end of the session, we can discuss it with the speaker if any of those doubts are not covered in this webinar, right? So now coming back to the main session, hoping to keep you all engaged and hoping to learn something new in this webinar as well. I would like to take this initiative to again welcome our speaker, Mr. Abhishek Bhavdankar. Thank you so much, sir, for again taking out time to solve our queries yet again. Mr. Abhishek is the National Head of Kaplan Logic Quest in India, which is the premier most institute for USMLE preparation and guidance for US residency. And he has guided more than 1,000 students for a good career and their dream for residency in US. So let's move forward to the webinar itself. Thank you, Mr. Abhishek. And I would like to notify you that all our members and students had sent again many questions and doubts they had for you and they had in their mind regarding USMLE, the residency, how to do it, and all their other questions. And we would like to say that our team has meticulously compiled it all, and we would now like to present those questions before you so that you can share some of your knowledge with us. Okay, so Mr. Abhishek, let us begin with this session. And my first question to you will be that I request you that could you provide us with a brief overview or a general introduction to today's topic? That is, what exactly do you mean by residency in US?
Thanks, Malika, for having me here. So, hello all. Since you all know this session for the day, the topic is demystifying residency in the US. So many times we still receive inquiries and queries like, what is a residency? Or after I complete my PG in the US, do I still have to do residency? Let me clarify, guys, this residency equals PG, PG equals residency. Both are the same terminology. So what we call PG or post-graduation in India or any other part of the world, the
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me, sir? Hello? Hello, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I think my internet connection is a bit stable. I thought that there was some problem. Okay, so sorry to interrupt you in between. Please continue.
Okay, fine. So, so residency is respective country. You have to, crack the USMLE examinations and go to the US for your post graduation, which is meant as or which is called as residency in the US. So it's no different than the regular terminology, which is the post graduation. Malika.
Okay, thank you so much for this elaborate explanation, sir. I think that this basic explanation can at least give us a brief general introduction on what today's topic is so that we can have a clear mind to continue with this webinar and have a general idea of what we will discuss today and what exactly is residency in US. Thank you so much.
Right.
So now I think we can begin with these specific questions for today. And my first question will be that why should we even consider residency in US? I mean, how does it differ from any residency in your own home country? So why should USMLE or pursuing residency in US even considered?
Well, it's a very interesting question, Malika. But let me just tell you, if you compare the statistics of what is happening, I mean, especially since I am into the Indian domain for over a decade, I can definitely confidently tell you about the Indian statistics. At this point in time, I do not want to get into comparison of any other country. But if you just compare the Indian statistics with the US, as of today, out of every 10 students in India, one student gets a PG seat. Whereas in the US, after every two students, one student gets a PG seat in the US. That's the fact as of today, and this which is in our favor. So why should we not? Apart
Right.
from that, if at all I have to share with you some statistics of why, when, and how, I would just like to bring to your notice. Just give me a moment. Can you see this?
Yes, we can.
Right. So now these are the reasons why you should consider US as a destination for your residency. Now, I do not want to get into specifics of what India has to offer or any other Asian countries has to offer in terms of statistics, because our main topic is about the US. So let's stick to the topic here, right? Uh, Now, if you see in the last 10 years, how drastically the number of IMGs getting matched into the residency has increased from a 2010 till this year, which is 2020. This year we had 4,222 IMGs, which is almost a 61.1% of
Hmm.
the entire IMG lot. And also, if you see that as of today, more than 25% of the US physician workforce comprises of IMGs. So if more than
Right.
one quarter is ruled by the IMGs, why should you not, when you know that you have a better chance of getting into the US? Now, again, the AAMC stands for the Association of American Medical Colleges, right?
Right.
When they had predicted a shortage, they have predicted a shortage of 1,22,000 physicians, surgeons, and medical specialists during the next decade, right? Now, you may feel, where is this coming from? So I would like to draw your attention to the official website of the AAMC, which is the Association of American Medical Colleges. On their
Okay.
website itself, they've mentioned research shows a shortage of more than 1 lakh doctors by 2030, right? Now,
Right.
there's a humongous need of doctors, physicians in the US. When we know that there is a need, why should you not choose is the question.
Hmm.
Secondly, now I would also want to show the rate that it is increasing. Now, this website was updated on the 14th of March 2017 when they said that they wanted around 1 lakh doctors there by 2030, which is in the next 10 years. Now, the same website, when they updated, right, on the 23rd of April 2019, last year, now the same shortage has gone up by 2,200 almost, sorry, 22,000. And it says that 1,22,000 physicians by 2032 is what they're anticipating in terms of shortage. So year on year, the numbers are multiplying, and they definitely need doctors, surgeons. So I think this is the right time for all the UG MBBS students to opt for MBBS, the US as a destination. So you know that you are trying to make your lives easier.
Right. Definitely, the human resource respect and the lifestyle change in the US is definitely a class apart from our home countries. I may not know about the other countries, but this is definitely true in respect to our. So I think this really clears our doubts, and which was personally my doubt as well, that what is the difference between the residency in the home country as well as in the US residency.
Right.
So, sir, my next question regarding the same will be, what do you think is the ideal time for students to start preparing for USMLEs? So, another question to that will be, what is the ideal time for the best time for students to write their step one and step two and preparation for the same? What is the time when should they start preparing for USMLE and their dream for residency in the US?
So again, for those students who do not know the details of USMLE examination as a whole,
Hmm.
I mean, in the next session that we have a detailed session on the USMLE, paper pattern and how to apply and all of those things. We'll definitely take it in depth. But right now, just to answer your question, um, USMLE exam comprises of four examinations. One is the USMLE Step 1, Step 2
Right.
CA, Step 2 CS, and the Step 3, right? So right now, as of now, for the discussion, we are going to keep the Step 3 outside and we'll just focus on these three examinations, which are mandatory for any IMG or even a local student out there to apply for a residency. So these three mandatory examinations are the Step 1, which comprises of first year and second year of your MBBS curriculum, which you also call it as paraclinical, or you can say it as basic sciences. Now these subjects, since you are encountering in your college or in the first year and second year itself on a day-to-day basis,
Right.
the eligibility to appear for the first examination is in the third year. It starts in the third year.
Okay.
So if you were to target to appear for the USMLE exam in the third year, then it is much recommended that you start your USMLE prep either in the first year itself or latest by the second year. So first year and second year. Now, if you think you are like a smart chap and you don't need that much of time, maybe a second year works for you. But if you think no, you're an average student and you may need more time, so you can
Right.
start right from the first year itself. And while you're in college, you can just simultaneously focus on your anat physio and biochem. When you promote to the second year, you can focus on your micropatho and pharmac. And by the end of the second year, you're done with the first year and second year syllabus. Third year, when you actually get eligible, and then while you're in the third year, parallelly just revise and go and give your examination. So by doing this, you are not burdening yourself separately on the USMLE and separately on your MBBS academics as well. After that, next year obviously becomes your final year, which is the toughest year, and you may not have sufficient time to focus on USMLE, which is even we recommend not to touch USMLE during your final year. But
Right.
the day you're in the internship year, that day itself, you can start with your step to CK preparation, which should take not more than about 4 to 5 months, and thereafter quickly wrap up with your step to CS examination, which takes not more than a month.
Right.
Now, since you're in the US, you are giving your step to CS examination while you come back, finish with your clinical rotations, and you're back to your country. Once you're back, you resume your internship, and parallelly you send across your applications to the US universities. So if you follow this rhythm, I guess that's the best, you know, uh, timeline for you is what I would say. Now, at the moment, there could be a different set of audience who could already be into the internship year. They could be graduates
Right.
by now. So there is a different plan of action for them. But maybe we can, get into the details in the next seminar, which is all about the USMLE and the right time and all of
Definitely, sir.
that. Right?
So I think Sir cleared our question for that matter, because what Sir meant to say is definitely that if you want to clear USMLE, if you want to go for residency in US, I think we all have to make our mind from the first year, first day itself, so that we know how to prepare for it, and so that we can at least focus on the subjects in our first year, and we can simultaneously prepare for USMLE strategically as well, right? Thank you, sir. So I think we can move on to our next question in that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So many international medical students, as well as many of our members, including myself, are in a bewilderment about how much score is considered to be a safe score to get our dream residency in US. So in that matter, many students have sent this common query that what can be considered as a good score or a safe score for us to apply for in the steps of USMLE, and what is known as the cutoff score with respect to the residency courses. So as a good score or a safe score, which we can say for our dream residency program.
Right. So I have two things here. Before I could answer, I would just want you guys to have a quick look at this chart, which talks about specialty and the average step 1 and step 2 CK scores respectively. Right. So this should give you a basic idea of which leading specialties need what kind of an average step 1 and step 2 CK scores. Right. So Malika,
Right.
this should answer your question of what are the specialties and cutoff like. But before,
The cutoffs for specific residency programs,
yes,
right?
but I would want to clarify one more thing here. When I'm using the word cutoff, right? Let's not be, too local by using the terminology as cutoff. But I
Right.
would to clarify here, these scores which are mentioned on your screen are the average scores,
Okay.
right? So for anesthesia, last year the average scores were 241 in step one and 248 in step two CK. Now, since these are average of all the programs, universities, hospitals, average of the IMGs and the non-US IMGs as well, right? So don't get fooled by the scores which are there on your screen. Otherwise, you might
Okay.
think, okay, fine, 244 surgery, woohoo, I'm just going to get a surgery seat. So that's not going to happen, right? But if I have to,
Right.
further, fine tune the entire chart, uh, all I can say is, like, you asked me what's a safe score. So at any given point in time, I would want a student to have a minimum of a 240. I repeat, it's a 240, 240 in a step one, and the same 240 in a step two CK as well,
Okay.
right? So that, just park that figure as a safe score. Now, if I have to get into the nitty gritties, I would blindly say internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, and psychiatry. If you aim for about a 240 each, you're good to go. If you're looking out for a mid-tier specialty like maybe an OBGYN, radio, neuro, anesthesia, maybe you should target for about 250, 255 plus kind of score. If you're
Okay.
aiming at a general surgery, you need to target at about a 260 kind of a score. Neurosurgery, about a 265 kind of a score. And if you're looking at plastic surgery, maybe a 270 plus kind of a score, right?
Okay.
So if you remember these scores, and then you can just align your specialty according to the scores which I had mentioned, I guess you should be in a safe position when it comes to the scores.
Okay. So I think this is a very elaborate chart from your side, I must say, sir, because I personally took a screenshot of this thing, and I recommend all the viewers to do the same as well, that you guys should take a screenshot or note it down somewhere, because it gives you an average score of what exactly should you have, not aim for, but an average score. So I think we should have a clear cut idea in our mind that what specific course in residency we are applying for. So for example, if I am aiming for plastic surgery, while I only have a score like 220, I should like work harder next time, or like take my dreams down to another level of maybe psychiatry. So I think we need to have a clear cut idea in our mind that if we are trying for this course, we need to aim for this level, this cutoff as well. So thank you, sir. So, and onto that question, I would like to ask that this was a common question again for many of our viewers, that do you know any international medical graduate that is an IMG friendly residency programs there in US?
But again, the basic ones, see, the lower your scores, lower the ranks, that becomes your IMG friendly specialties, because every country would want to secure, the best specialties with them. Because let's say you go to the US, you do your surgery and you come back, that the residency is free. You don't have to pay them anything, and you come
Right.
to your country. What has US gained out of you, right? So which is why
Mm.
every country would want to retain the best specialties with them. And of course, if there's some excess, they will certainly give to the international students. Which is why now, last session also we spoke about, like, specialties like internal medicine and all. They're like, thousands of seats. So despite securing the minimum number of MD doctors out there are a lot of seats which are still available, which is why then, when they give out to the IMGs, it then becomes a easy cakewalk as compared to the tough specialties when they give out those seats. So maybe this chart can talk about, I've just tried to segregate only for your clear understanding. So family medicine, it being green, so that's one of the easiest IMG friendly, I would say, that you would be able to get in. Next is the internal medicine, that is equally an IMG friendly specialty. You can also aim at a non-clinical, which is a pathology, or if you're still interested in clinicals itself, maybe you can stick around to pediatrics and psychiatry respectively. So these specialties would give you a better chance of getting into the US residency if your scores and your profile is an average one. But if you
Okay.
think that you've excelled well, you've got a 255, 260 plus kind of a score, and if you really have that aim and dream, maybe you can try for anesthesia, which is a mid-tier. You can try for emergency medicine, which is equally mid-tier, neuro and OBGYN, which are equally treated as mid-tier specialties. Then the top one will be general surgery, which we spoke about last time. So that's how it keeps on increasing. So you can now, based on this chart, aim at green, yellow, and red, and then based on your entire profile, you can then take a call.
Okay, sir. So this gives us a very clear view of what exactly my question was. So the IMG friendly, or what exactly in layman language will be for an average profile. I think we can aim for subjects such as family medicine, pathology for a non-clinical branch, pediatric psychiatry, as well as internal medicine.
That's right.
Thank you. So I think, sir, even though this question was briefed before in the questions which were asked earlier, I would again like to ask this question specifically, that what are the benefits of pursuing residency in US? What are exactly the perks of US residency or USMLE? So why do people go for US residence? What are the benefits?
So this is exactly what I was trying to explain in the last session also. Like, when you're aiming at a particular country or a destination, try to read and study the history, try to understand the future, and also see where do you fit in, in both these aspects. So if you see on your screen, so there's a specialty wise, all the branches which are mentioned over here. The average US median scores, now these are average of 1 and CK both put together, so you may or you may not want to consider that. You also need to know and understand that if you are really aiming at one, but you do not have the patience, then possibly that could be one of the reasons should you opt for it or not. Like, for example, neurosurgery takes about 6 years. Do you have the patience? Then yes, definitely go in for it. And then you also understand how many years of after pumping in how many years into that particular residency. After the end of the residency, when you start working, when you start earning, what is the average salary range, which is given on the extreme right of your screen. But to earn this, how many hours per week does that doctor, surgeon, or physician works? Now compare these working hours with the Indian working hours. Compare this salary with the Indian salary. Then you know which is a good side, which is a green side, and would you want to take or opt for it or not. I guess this should give you a better idea.
Right, sir. So I think if we can compare these with the Indian salary as well as the Indian working hours, there is a very, very high difference in between, right?
Absolutely. Now, this is more magnified vision or view of different specialties, or small specialties which are mentioned out here, and that really talks about what you take home. Now, all the figures out here are mentioned in dollars. That too is a triple digit dollar, right? I'm pretty sure most of you at this point in time, back of your mind must be thinking, okay, fine, $501,000 multiply 75 rupees. So that's the obvious thing which everyone comes up with. So just for the sake of your convenience, I have just tried to translate that into the Indian rupees. Not everything, but just a few for your information and a quick grasping of the figures. Now look at the figures here. The bare minimum pediatrics and in internal medicine starts at about a crore point five approximately annually. In the wildest of your dreams, do you even think somewhere in the Indian setup you would be able to start off with this? So these are the start figures. I'm not talking about a surgeon or a physician with about 15 years of experience. This is like a start salary in the US. So if you want to see the total amount of time that a doctor is going to invest in India, and the same amount of time, at the same time, another doctor investing in the US. Look at the output. Look at the output. And this is the comparison, I guess, which will help you understand what am I doing and where am I heading and what should be my aim. And mind you, these figures are all official in nature. Down bottom of the screen, there's a link which is given over here. This is a source of these figures.
So I think the whooping numbers that you presented before us does give us a clear-cut idea of what exactly my question was. So I think after seeing those figures and even comparing it with the Indian currency, and I suggest the international students that if you can compare it with your currency itself, there is a lot difference. So, and as sir just mentioned, this is just the starting salary. So there is a lot of difference with the working hours as well as the pay, your deserved pay that you get. Please note the starting salary as mentioned by sir. So I think this really satisfies us as the answer of the question, right?
Correct.
So sir, my next question, I would like to read it out because this is one of our members who asked that studying abroad has always been my dream, and I plan to study abroad 6 years after graduation and work there permanently. It is difficult to be accepted, but it's even more difficult to get a scholarship. It will be great if you suggest me about how to get financial support from these countries, since I surely cannot afford the tuition fees. So, sir, in this question, the sub question will be that how much approximately do you think is the cost of these residency programs while they're in US, and if you are aware of any scholarship programs which can financially aid our students as well as the viewers who are here.
Well, I'm sure most of you may be aware that there's no concept of tuition fees in the US, right?
Okay.
So the PG education in the US is 100% free. It is 100% sponsored by the federal government of US. So
Okay.
you are already on a scholarship fee, right? Any student
Okay.
who gets in does not pay anything. Rather, you start earning the stipends, right? And the stipends are about, say, 60 to $65,000 per annum. Just divided that by 12, so about $5,000 per month is what you earn towards your stipends. And you, as I said, you're eligible right from day one of your residency. So $5,000 is a pretty decent amount for a student to sustain in the US. First of all, you're not paying them anything.
Right.
On top of that, you're earning $5,000 per month. Now, let's take an example. Malika, you've just passed out from your MBBS over here, and let's say one of
Okay.
your friend is already in the US, and
Okay.
and both of you started the PG program. You started here in India, and your friend has started there in the US. Now
Okay.
your friend has already fast forward one month has gone,
Okay.
and he or she is already having 3.5 lakh rupees in her bank account, right?
Right.
You check your bank balance
I
at
don't
that.
want to know.
So the idea is not to show you the greed of money, but to just inform you that it's all about being, self-dependent and not being dependent on your parents, right? Uh, Another aspect to it is how much do you actually spend? So your food
Okay.
and living per month, let's say even if you're staying in like New York area or something like that, should not be more than $2,000 per month. The rest is all yours. So again, I'm not trying to show you that you're earning there, but I am saying that you're like self-sufficient, and right from day one, you're good to go. So that should answer half of your question, which is how to, aim for scholarship. So it's a fully funded seat, so you do not worry about it. Coming to the second half of your question as to how do we approach, how do we have an approach towards the financial aspect of the USMLE journey. So in a quick, I would say, a tabular form, I would like to introduce you to few of the costs, which I personally call it as an investment, right? So this
Okay.
is this is going to be our total investment in terms of the overall USMLE journey, followed by from today till the first day of residency. So exam fees for step one is about 84,000. Step 2C is about 85,000. Step 2C is about 1,20,000. Step 3 is about 62,000. ERAS tokens, when you have to obtain for the ERAS tokens, you have to pay about $130, which translates to 9,750 Indian rupees. Now, residency applications, it's a different dynamics altogether. I just pause it for now. And every time you visit US, bare minimum that you would need is about 2 lakh rupees for a short trip to the US. Now, last session, we spoke about the clerkships and all the ships and electives and stuff like that. So on an average per month, it should cost you about 3 odd lakhs. including your
Okay.
stay cost, including your stay cost.
Okay.
So it ranges about $1,500, 2,500. Few hospitals would charge you about $3,500, right until $5,000 to $6,000 for a month. Right now, we are not going to aim for like the expensive ones, but neither are we going to look at the cheap ones. Even if I take an average
Yes.
mediocre range of about $2,500 to $3,000 for a month, that should still round up to about 3 odd lakh rupees for a month. So this is just keeping in mind 1 month and one trip. So roughly around, if all the expenses put together, should cost you about 9.6 lakhs as an initial investment, is what I would say. I have not considered the coaching fees. So I
Okay.
don't know which student where he or she is going to land up, but on an average, it should cost you about 5 to 7 lakh rupees in terms of coaching. Even if I have to consider that amount, it's still about what 15 odd lakhs. And let's say you do about a month or two more of your US clinical experience, that should still round up to 20 lakh rupees. So 20 lakh rupees is going to be your total investment throughout your journey of USMLE and residency.
I think that solves the second part of the question as well, sir. So while 20 lakh is not considered as a very less amount, because most of our students which ask this question specifically are not in the condition to pay. So I think 20 lakhs is not a small amount. But I think considering the long-term benefits of US residency, and considering that we get $5,000 per month in the while you are performing your residency in US, if we consider that in the long run, I think it is, in the end, it is beneficial for us to apply for residency in US, because this 20 lakhs can be this can be converted into a lot more benefit while we are pursuing a residency in US, as Sir just explained. Because if we compare this starting fee in the as a resident there in US with the starting fee in our home countries, we can definitely find a lot contrast in that. Because I don't know about the because the it depends from college to college, but the stipend which we get in our home country is not at all comparable to the stipend which is gotten by the students who are there pursuing their
In the
residency in
US. Yeah.
US.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes, sir.
And again, which is why I personally call it as an investment. I wouldn't
Right.
say it's like fees or something. Now, sometime back regarding the residency applications, also I was talking about it. The application cost itself will be about a lakh or so. And how is the amount derived, right? So I don't know. This very rarely you might see this kind of information handy anywhere. But
Oh,
I just thought, since this may or may not be valid over here, or but then how do you pay? Like up to 10 programs that you apply to, you end up paying about $99.
okay.
Anything more than that, 11 to 20, you end up paying about $15 each. And then 21 to 30 is about $19 each. And 31 or more, it's about $26 each. But I mean, if you say you're applying for, let's say 40 programs, does not mean 40 into 26. There are certain examples which are given over here. So I would just like to go through, so you have a better understanding. So let's say you're applying for 30 emergency medicine programs. So
Okay.
30 is what, the first 10 programs is $99, which is a flat fee. And
Okay.
then uh, $10, 10 institutions into $15 each. So that's about $150. And
Hmm.
then since we are getting into the third slab, which is the 21 to 30, which is 19, so you have to pay for the third slab as well, which is $19 multiplied 10 programs. So 10, 10, and then the first 10 programs, which is 99. That's how they derive to $439,
Okay.
uh, you know, for that particular example. So
Okay.
you can just go through these examples. If you want, you can just take a screenshot. If you're still not understood, you can send me an email, or you can just contact me. I will explain it to you separately. But right now, this may or may not be relevant. But at some point in time, it will certainly be relevant. But I don't know whether we are going to meet then. So I thought, since we are on the topic, I should just give and pass on this particular piece of information to you.
Right, sir. I think this chart is very beneficial for our students who want to apply for programs there and who are very enthusiastic for applying for more than 10 or more than 20 programs. So I think I've taken a screenshot of this slide as well, right? So I think we can move on to our next question. So again, this question was asked right now in the chat box as well, and it was a common question by many students. So the question over here is it better to finish your PG in your home country and then try for fellowship or super specialty in the US? Or is it better to do residency as well as your super specialization in the US? And another question to this will be, which can be asked later as well, but while I was on this topic, I would want to ask that many students were like that after completing my residency in US, can I go and try medicine in some other place? So this question is basically the validity of the US license in other countries. So can we have an answer to that question, sir?
Sure. So after you've completed your residency in the US, you're free to practice in any part of the world. So even if you come back to India also, you can still. Until now, there was no examination that you had to give, especially in India. But now, what I've heard, I'm yet to confirm, but what I've heard is you will still have to give the next examination, because earlier it was the MCI, now it is the NMC. So since the body changes, you will have to give the examination. So earlier it was the FMG screening test, and now let's wait and watch what the next has to offer us. As far as other countries are concerned, even if you plan to go to any other country, you will still have to give the exam of that particular country, because every country would ask for a qualifying exam of their country. So you will still have to give that, right? Coming back to the first part of your question, which is should I do my PG year and then go for super specialty there? I would say it wouldn't be a good choice to do a PG from India and then go to the US for your super specialty, for a couple of reasons. Number one is, no matter you go now or you go later, you will still have to uh, you know give your USMLE examinations. Number one.
Okay.
So now that you are fresh with your anat and physio biochem, just imagine 5.5 years of your MBBS and then 3 years of your MD MS years. So that's about 8.5 years, and then you come back to your anat physio again. So that's going to be a long gap. So
Right.
scoring itself is going to be a task. Number two, after you let's assume irrespective of your scores, the total number of seats which are available for IMGs for residency are comparatively higher in nature vis-a-vis the total number of seats for fellowship.
Okay.
Now, what happens is, let's say you and me, both of us have finished our residency from the US, and now let's say both of us have done our medicine. You want to get into gastro, I want to get into cardio, and now it's time for both of us to apply for super specialty. And
Right.
just imagine someone from outside is coming, and we've been waiting there in the queue for the last 3 to 4 years, and someone from outside is coming with that limited seats and he's snatching away your seat.
Right. Right.
So then
Definitely,
that
sir.
really becomes difficult, and which is why the first preference is given to students who have completed their residency from the US. Secondly, uh, if you finish your PG from India and then you go to the US for your super specialty, you can do your super specialty in case if you are lucky and you get a seat, you've completed everything. But in that scenario, you're not allowed to stay back on either of
Okay.
the visas. You have to come back to your home country. You can just go there for higher education, but you cannot stay there. You cannot settle down in the US. So first aim, what do you want? Let's say, for example, there are a few students that I have whose father is a doctor, mother is a doctor, they've got their own hospital, they want to take their hospital to the next level,
Right.
right? In that case, yes, it makes more sense to finish your PG year, go to the US, finish your super specialty, come back, and now take your hospital to the next level. But not everyone has the same goal. So, what is your goal? First, decide that, and based on which, then you can take a call accordingly.
So I think that solves our question that you recommend that we should try for USMLE after our graduation itself. So I think this is a good answer, because if we think about it ourselves, that many of our professors in our institute as well have done fellowship as well as super specialization from the US. But let us not forget the fact that the competition increases by every level. So while the competition for USMLE is high itself, the competition for super specialization will be super high in that respect. So I think while we are fresh with our knowledge with anatomy, physiology, pathology, as well as the clinical subjects, we should try for USMLE then and there. So I think that explains the question. So, sir, now
And
the next
one
question.
more thing. Sorry, one more thing. But one more thing is, like, if you plan for residency, go to the US, finish your residency, then you have a choice whether you want to continue in the US or you want to come back. You
Right,
can exercise that particular option. But if you're going just for fellowship after completing your post graduation from your country,
right, right.
then you don't have a choice. You have to come back.
We
And
have
then
to come
you
back.
feel that, oh shit, I guess now I'm in a cool atmosphere. I need to be here. You're helpless.
So is there an option for us to stay after fellowship, sir?
No.
Okay, so I think
Which
we'll
is
have
why
to.
go for residency first.
Okay, sir. So I think that solves our question. So now, sir, this question, owing to the popular demand from our previous webinar, and also some of our students who attended the webinar asked for more elaboration, and many of the viewers who are here today but weren't able to attend our previous webinar are again asking this question. I would like to read it out. Is that, sir, I would like to I'd like to request you to guide our viewers more about the activities which would account for a good CV again. So as sir explained previously, that volunteering efforts, some more conferences, research activities, as well as exchanges account for a good CV. So sir, again, I would like to ask you that how can you add into your resume so that's to make a powerful impact? Because as you explained earlier, that many even though you attain a good score, a good CV also accounts very very much, because now if the USMLE goes from from the score point to the pass and fail point, CV is gonna have a large impact. So how can we make our CV, how can we glorify CV so that it makes a powerful impact on the US programmers?
So yeah, so after the last session that we had, even I don't know, somehow my emails were circulated, and I received a few emails on the same question, and I thought so. I was anticipating this question, so which is why I'm ready with the answer to it. So what I would say is, these are certain things. If you have on your CV, I guess you're good to go. I wouldn't say, like last time also we discussed, there's nothing called as a perfect CV, but
Right.
these CVs, these pointers on your CV is definitely going to help you, have all the expectations of the program director fulfilled.
Definitely.
So what are those? So first is, like, we discussed last time also and some time back also. When you go to the US and do your step two, you appear for your step two CSK examination. As it is you're in the US, so stay back for about a couple of months more and
Right.
do your clinical rotations. So whatever stage you're graduate or student electives, clerkship accordingly, you try and finish the US clinical experience, you solicit the letters of recommendation, and then you can come back to India. So that saves your trip, that saves you money, that saves you time as well. While you're here during your MBBS, try and do some research, some projects, publications. You can of course try and apply for the STS program. And once everything is approved, the financials and everything is done, then you can approach the ICMR for the publication. So most of the colleges that I have visited, I know that there is a research cell in their respective
College
medical.
itself, right?
Yes. So you can just approach them for a guidance, and I'm sure they will guide you perfectly for how do you go for publications as well. If any institution is offering you student exchange programs, please opt for those. Try and volunteer for those. But again, sometime back, Malika, you just said 20 lakhs is a huge investment. So if
Right.
that is the case, student exchange programs could also bite you a little bit at the cost of enhancing your CV. So you got to, balance your finance, plus whether you want to opt for the student exchange programs or not, that's completely your choice. But if you think finance is a constraint, maybe you can look at some other options at a domestic level, like participation in symposiums. I would say 95% of the medical schools have the UG conferences. So participating in those symposiums, paper presentations, poster presentations is there, case presentation is there. So try to be also try to be in the organizing committee, maybe a chairman or a treasurer or anything.
The student council too, per se.
Yes. So that the letter that you get also says, okay, fine, since you have the experience of handling this, organizing this, which means you set this quality.
Right.
So that is the message that you're giving across to the program director at the time of application. Next is lot many extracurricular activities. Last time, as we discussed, maybe you can start working for the Lions Club, Rotary Club, Rotaract Club. So these, extra voluntary things will also add to your service, voluntary service or community service, what we call it as, working for NGOs. Everything works. And even if you have some sports or any kind of theater, last time you mentioned about theater, add add to your CV. You never know, anything can work in your favor. So focus on these things. I guess you're in a good shape to go ahead and send across your application to the US program directors.
Okay, sir. I think that this slide per se has the answers to this question as well as the answer to the previous webinar as well, that we need to participate more and more into all the exchange programs, have more publications, at least participate in the conferences which at least occur in your own college. We should apply for student council programs and more organization committees in our college, so that because it builds us leadership skills and qualities which can thus enhance our resume, right?
Right.
We could volunteer for organizations, we can volunteer into NGOs and approach more organizations and NGOs around you, and just keep on enhancing your sports skill as well. So sir, in this slide itself, we are getting questions right now as well. Could you elaborate the clerkship and electives in USA? Because that question is being asked again and again. Just a brief idea through this slide only.
Well, I'll just run through the brief, but if those viewers who are looking out for elaborative answer, maybe you can just run through the previous recording of the session which we had about a couple of days back. You'll have a better detailed idea. But again, just to sum up, when you go to the US, you have to work in the US hospitals.
Right.
When you apply to the hospital in capacity of a student, that hands-on experience is called as an elective program.
Okay.
Let's say for some reason you've graduated and now you want to opt for a US experience. Again, as I said, most of the students are of an opinion that once you've graduated, you cannot touch the patient. I'm sorry, yes, there are still some opportunities and options available in the US where you can touch the patient, perform on the patient. That rotation is called as clerkship, because you get to touch the patient after the graduation, which is called as the clerkship program. And the third type is the observership, where you simply observe, you do not touch the patient, no matter you're a student or a graduate, and that's an observership program. But again, observership program, there's not much of an importance as compared. I wouldn't say it's a useless program, but when you compare with electives or clerkship, observership is like quite diluted. So I would prefer you guys having hands-on experience, because a letter of recommendation would also say so.
Right. And so we have a question here as well. That's, you just mentioned student exchange programs.
Mm-hmm.
So while I've seen many of my friends who are appearing for USMLE, or many of those who are pursuing residency in the US, have always opted for the exchanges. They've gone to US or even certain other countries for exchange programs for experience there in the country. So while you just said that observership does not account that much with respect to clerkship or hands-on experience, would a virtual exchange with the countries have the same impact as a student exchange program?
Yes, kind of. Again, when you compare, yes, it would definitely be diluted, but as an initiative, as an extracurricular, as an activity, when you're mentioning that and when you're again supporting that with a document, with like a certificate or a letter, it will certainly add. Again, the degree would be less, but it will certainly add.
Right. Okay, sir. Thank you, Stofir. I guess this question is very well answered right now. So I think we can move on to our next question over here, which is So, sir, I think which is not in par with this question, which is not in relation to this question. So, the next question from my side will be that can you please tell us in detail the specialties which we can directly apply to, and which degrees, the super specialties as well, the specialties which the IMGs can directly apply for. Sorry.
Well, again, it's a very exhaustive list. At this stage, the best way to answer would be just go to nrmp.org, and on the website, on the home page, there's a tab on the right top which says data and reports. Click that, download that. I guess it's about 130 plus pages of a PDF. So in the first 8 to 10 pages of that report, you will have all the specialties, uh, IMG wise, US IMG wise, percentage wise, number wise. It's a very exhaustive, list. And I'm sorry, Malika. I mean, I don't think I'll be able to answer unless you have a chart kind of a thing in front of you.
Right.
So maybe before we exit, I will, if you want, I can just show you through the browser. I'll just share my screen and show you where will you able to find that particular report.
So I think we can take this question in the end.
Yes.
So moving forward, another question with this thing itself, with this question, the previous question itself was that what is the duration of each course in your residency in US? While you have already have told us in your one of your previous slides where you had mentioned the salaries you get as well, that like courses such as neurology take 6 years as such. So can you give us another idea on what is the exact duration of each course there in the US?
So
Is it comparable to here in India?
I'm
Is
sorry.
it comparable to your home country, or are the courses duration varying with respect to the course? What is the duration?
Well, when it comes to India, everything is a flat 3-year program. You know it. MD is a flat 3-year program. MS is a flat 3-year program, irrespective of what specialty. But in the US, if you're planning for family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics, and psychiatry, you need to spend 3 years each. If
Okay.
you're looking out for a mid-tier, like OBGYN, radio, neuro, anesthesia, you need to spend 4 years each. You're looking out for a general surgery, you spend 5 years. Dermat is again a 4 years. General surgery is 5 years. Neurosurgery is 6 years. And if you're looking out for a fellowship program as well, so like 3 years of internal medicine, 2 years of cardiology. So that makes it
Nothing,
5
sir.
years. Or if you're looking at ortho, maybe 5 years of general surgery plus few programs would be, most of them would be like a 2 years of ortho. So that makes it about a 7 years program. So again, boiling down to the same point, do you have the patience to invest 7 years of your life? But when you're investing, before you invest, I strongly urge and recommend all the students, do not take these 7 years as a study period. It will demotivate you badly. Take it as an employment period. Take it as an earning period. Take it as learn and earn period. It will
Definitely, sir.
motivate you, and at the end of the 7 years, you're one of the best surgeons that a country can see.
Right, sir. So I think this, with this, I have finished my set of questions which my team had compiled. So I think through in this webinar itself, we had opened to our viewers the option of them typing out their questions and doubts to me in the chat box. So I think if you are up for it, sir, can we look at those questions now?
Sure.
Okay, sir. So while I'm getting very generalized questions, but I would like to now ask you that this question itself, the duration of the course. There is a student from India who's asking that for cardiology specialty, how many years would it take, and what is the average score itself for having a good cutoff, the cutoff score for you to apply for a
Again, as
cardiology
I
in
said, cardiology is not a direct specialty. You will have to go through the internal
internal
medicine
medicine.
route.
Okay.
So 3 years of medicine and then 2 years of super specialty, which is your cardio. So again, ideally 240 is good, but if you're again looking out for some better opportunities, uh, I would still suggest about a 250 in this case. But again, it depends. Can I know which year of medicine is the student studying in?
I don't think that person has mentioned it. So,
Never mind. If the student is like let's say in the first year, second year, maximum in the third year, maybe the
No, sir,
matter
she
because
has
by the time
mentioned
you're
it
going to
that she
apply,
is from final year. So for a final year student, what do you recommend here?
yeah. So if it's a final year and if you are dead sure that you're going to give the exam by or before the December of 2021,
Okay.
then you will have a triple digit score. In that case, you should aim at about a 250, which is a decent score. I mean, 240 is equally safe, but I don't want to take a chance in your case. Let's have some buffer. They wanted 240, you have a 250, so that's great. You exceed their expectations, so that's how it will help you.
Right. So I think this solves not only her question, but it also solves the question for a lot of our viewers that
Mhm.
you should apply for a specialty like cardiology, which is not a direct specialty. We have to go through internal medicine first, and then we can apply for it as a super specialty there in the US. Okay, sir. So we have another question in our chat box, which says that, hi, I wanted to ask that what other ways can I build my CV? So she says that in her institution or in her college, they don't have a really working student body or any student government which is working, and do not really offer some extracurricular activities, and much
Mhm.
less they have don't even have any working organizations around them. So how can she build an impressive CV in that case where her school does not have much extracurricular activities to offer?
See, when it comes to the academic related, like research or publication, you will need a guide from your medical school itself who can help you with the topics, finalize the topics, and then accordingly decide whether this qualifies for a research or not. Taking
Okay.
samples, at which stage, what should you do, is it complete, is it not complete, someone has to verify, someone has to approve it. So that will happen only if you have a guide. So most of the times you will have to be dependent on your one of the college resources like a HOD or a principal dean who's helping you. But when it comes to non-academics, you can always just get out of your comfort zone, and maybe if you're ready to travel the length and breadth of the country, there are so many medical schools who are organizing these UG conferences. Participate in those. Like volunteering for someone or working for an NGO, I don't think anyone is needed for you to handhold you through these things. So just look out for opportunities, Google out for some options, and you should be in a good shape to work on those areas and have your letters or certificates handy with you. So that ways you'll be able to enhance your CV.
Okay, sir. So, sir, something which is unrelated to what you just explained, there is another question. Like, as you said, that if you're applying for a fellowship in the US, but you cannot stay there. After the fellowship, you have to go back to your home country, right? So,
Yeah.
this student wants to ask that, is there any way for you to stay in the US even after fellowship? Like, you can extend your visa, or do you have to give another exam after that?
No, you will have to repeat the question.
Sir, you explained that after your fellowship in the US, so this person has done the PG from their home country and they
Hmm.
applied for fellowship in the US.
Hmm.
So, as you said that for a person who is doing the fellowship, they will have to go back to their home country eventually.
Right,
But let's
right.
say I'm the one who's doing the fellowship in the US, but now I want to stay in the US considering the facilities which I'm getting here. So, is there any way for me to continue staying here? Will I have to give another exam, or can it just work by extending the visa?
Which visa? That's the question. That's the question. It's not easy to stay back, which is why I'm saying if you want a peaceful life, go for a residency. And in that also, there are two categories: a J category and a H category. Now, if you are planning to go to the US on a residency, right now the question is about fellowship and residency. So fellowship is a complete no-no. Let's forget fellowship if you're aiming at staying in the US. But if
Okay.
you're aiming, let's say you make up your mind somehow and you want to now go to the US for residency.
Okay.
In residency also there are two types: the H and the J. So the J residency is when the programs out there, hospitals out there will offer you or sponsor your J1 visa, which is your student visa. And the other type of visa is your H1 visa, which is your work permit visa. If you are on a H1, doing your residency, fast forward, your residency is completed, and you still wish to stay back. Yes, it is possible. But if you're on a J visa, then you will have to come back because you're already on a student visa, and then your role in the US has ceased to be a student. So you have no reason to stay back. You will again have to come back, which is why you have to plan things in advance. Am I planning to stay back? Am I coming back? Am I going for residency? Am I going for fellowship? And then we start planning. And if you're planning for staying in the US on a H1 visa, you will still need to give a step 3 examination first, which enables you to apply for the same residency, but on a H1B work permit visa.
Okay. So I think this answers our question. So for those people who plan to stay in the US, even after their super specialization, should try for their residency in US as well. And in case you're planning to stay in the US after your fellowship, so there are certain guidelines which you have to follow and which cannot be done by only having a visa extended. So another
If you
question.
are on one second, if you are on a J1 visa,
Okay.
in the meanwhile, let's say you get married to a citizen out there.
Okay, right.
Do not expect that you will get citizenship, waiver when it comes to the J1. In that scenario, you will still have to come back to your home country, spend 2 years in your home country, and then you're free to do whatever you want. So that is really crucial. I mean, we can talk about the J1 waivership program and all of those in the USMLE sessions, but right now it's only for information.
Okay, sir. So I think we are getting a lot of questions on CV itself. So there is another question saying that it was passed that the USMLE again failed pass system instead of the scoring system. So this student says that how will the applicants be compared in the new pass fail system apart from CV? That, for example, if a person with a score of 195 and a really good CV with respect to a person with 240 plus score and average CV, a mediocre CV, applying for the same residency program. Now, which of these applicant is supposed to get selected? I think it's a very good question.
Again, after 2022, when it becomes a pass fail, all right, when it becomes a pass fail, does it really matter if you're a 240 pass or a 194 pass? Pass is still a pass, right?
Right.
What the program director will see is, okay, fine, he's passed, finish, end of the story. Let's jump to the next level or a parameter, which is your step 2 CK. Now let's talk what's your step 2 CK. Again, someone may have a 260, someone may have a 240. Again, it's a clear-cut indication out there. So 240 would definitely be a second priority, or maybe he may be out, or whatever it is. So that would be the second parameter. CS obviously is pass and fail, so that is quite evident. And then my next focus automatically is shifted directly on the CV. Who's done what? So this way is the program directors would look, irrespective what score you've passed, because it's a pass at the end of the day.
Right. So I think we have a pretty good answer here that after the pass fail system, once you are passed, you are considered passed, whether you have 240, whether you have 190. So it is considered passed. So your impact.
Otherwise it will dilute the step pass fail system.
Right.
If I'm
So
still supposed to look at a 260 or a 194, what's the use of a pass and fail?
exactly. So this is the so the pass and fail system says itself that it is not supposed to be judged on the basis of your score, but on the basis did you pass the exam or did you not pass the exam. So
Correct.
definitely the entire impact goes to your CV. So what activities you have done, what organization you have joined, what extracurricular you've done in that case. So I think to that again, as explained in the previous session, you need to build up on your CV, join more organization, join AMSA itself again. Hey. So I think that explains our question. So, sir,
Yeah,
I think
AMSA is equally it's a good option for students to join in, because what I know AMSA, they do a lot of activities, and I'm sure AMSA must be giving them some certificates and recognition that really
right.
adds value to your CV as well.
Definitely, sir. So I think we should come to the end of the session now that we have almost covered an hour and we have answered almost all the questions. So to all the students who questions are not answered, I'm very sorry. Due to the time constraint, we are unable to answer your questions. But we will be giving you the contact information of our speaker, Mr. Abhishek here, as well as the
Right
contact
on the screen.
information, which is over there itself. Please take a screenshot of this. I'm very sorry. And you always have the contact of our team as well. So please feel free to contact us. So sir, can you please show us that slide which had directly the courses which can apply for, if it is comfortable for you? These, you said that in the end we could have the website, if you could show us the NRMP website for the
Oh, yeah.
courses which we can directly apply for.
Right. Just give me a moment. So the website is nrmp.org, which is the National Residency Matching Program.
Okay.
On the right here, it is data and reports. Right.
So we go to residency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And the first point, which is results and data 2020 main residency match, it is about 128 pages. I was close. I said about 130, so I was close. So just click on this and a PDF would be automatically shown. You can just download this PDF and keep with you for all future references. I mean, this keeps on updating year on year based on the results. Next year you'll have a 21 result, etc. But that's how it works. So results and data for 2020 match. How many applicants did apply and all of those? Oh, sorry. Yeah. So as I said, it's an exhaustive list, as you can see on your screen.
Right.
So this is again PGY1 positions, number of programs, positions offered, unfilled programs. Unfilled as in they did not get the right candidate, so they thought I would let it go, but not give it to you because you do not deserve, so on and so forth. So yeah. So number of applicants, then you have number of matches, percentage, positions ranked, seniors, juniors, first year position, second year position, all of that is given over here. So it's a huge list. Please go through it. I'm sure you'll have better idea about this. Just scroll
Right.
down.
So
You will also have in table 2 or 3, if I'm not wrong, you will also have IMG data over here. Yeah. So non-US IMGs and US IMGs. So for anesthesia, for example, 78 people got through in 2020, 58 were US IMGs and 78 were non-US.
non-US IMGs.
So non-US are rocking over the US IMGs. So, right. So please go through this. Yeah, I don't want to eat up your time, but this is
a huge
quite
list.
helpful. Yeah, it's quite helpful, informative, 128 pages. All the best.
Right. So I think guys who are interested to, you can go through this website nrmp.org.com. So you have the list over there and
just nrmp.org. That's it.
Okay, sorry. So I said the wrong word. So I think you can go through this website, which has a huge list, which can definitely answer all your queries about IMG friendly programs and your programs you can directly apply for as well. So thank you, sir. I think we have definitely crossed the time which we had given to the students as well. But it is very beneficial that you have answered all the queries for the students. And I thank you again. Really thank you, sir. And the students who did not get their answers to their questions, again, you have the contact of Mr. Abhishek, you have the contact of our team, and you can directly contact us anytime, anywhere. So, sir, again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. and AMSA International, AMSA India, and on behalf of all the viewers here, we would like to extend our thanks. So thank you, sir, and to my viewers as well. Thank you for being with us the entire time, and thank you. And I really ask of you that if you could join us for the next session, which is on 5th June. Application process step-by-step explanation will be there. So please join us for that as well. So
More questions
everyone,
are welcome.
so more questions on your step one, as well as I'm getting more questions on that. You can again answer, we can again get you answers for that anytime. So again, thank you guys. Thank you, sir, for joining us in this today's webinar, and stay safe, stay healthy. I'll be ending the webinar now. Thank you guys.
Thank you.